Does time exist? Uh, as someone who's worked in youth ministry with teenagers for a long time, over a decade, I found actually, how many years has it been? I guess 21 years now. Um, I find it's very common in the last few years for teenagers to tell me that time doesn't exist. And the reason this is relevant is, well, I mean, first of all, it's just kind of important to believe in something as obviously true as time, as obviously real as time. But also, the Kalam cosmological argument is an argument for God's existence that uh, uses the existence of time to make a case for God's existence. Now, I don't know, perhaps this argument is going away. It seems that teenagers have shifted to just saying that math isn't real or numbers aren't real. They've shifted from saying time isn't real to just saying numbers aren't real. The issue about numbers being real is like the numbers themselves, like the number 7 doesn't have to exist. It doesn't have to have a shape or a weight or a size for it to be something that reality must conform to. It seems obviously true that 3 plus 4 makes 7. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about time. Okay, so is time real? So what I'm going to do is make a case for you that time's real. The first reason we have to believe in the existence of time is because we experience time. We directly experience it. So like, I'm looking at the desk in front of me. I see a water bottle. I see a pen. I see a TV remote. And I experience the existence of those things. And that leads me to the conclusion that, like, they actually exist. Now, we also experience time. I can stand on one side of the room and go over here, and now I'm standing on this side of the room, right? And then I can walk to the other side of the room, and now I'm on the other side of the room. And what that was is something changed. My location changed. And the only way change can occur is if the conditions are one way at one time and another way at another time. We all experience changes all the time. One way to think about it is like if you don't believe in time, then you don't believe time is real, then go underwater and hold your breath for 30 seconds or hold your breath for 30 minutes. There's no difference between the two because that difference is a difference in time, and time isn't real, so there's no difference between the two. I think we all recognize that there is a real difference. Like if I was to pull out on the road, in my car, oftentimes I have to wait till a later time when there's no cars coming. Okay. Now you could say like, well, maybe time isn't real, or like I look on the desk and I see the water bottle on the desk. Is the water bottle real? Is the pen on my desk real? Well, the thing about time is our experience of it is stronger. Our justification for belief in time is stronger than the justification we have for believing in like this water bottle. Because like the water bottle, I experience it, but it's outside of my mind. It's my experience of the external world. It's hard for me to tell if it's really real or if it's just an illusion in my head. But the thing is, I actually experience change and therefore time mentally, purely mentally, as well as in the external world. So like we experience changes in our mood, in our emotion, in what we're thinking about, in our memories. Like we all experience time purely mentally, purely subjectively. It's a purely subjective experience. It's something that we experience. So like it's actually stronger than the belief in the external world. So therefore, if you're going to reject the existence of time, you have to reject the existence of the external world, as well as all sorts of things, like anything ever changing. You are the same height and weight that you are today is the same as when you were born, because they couldn't have changed, because that would mean that there was time, because things were one way at an earlier time and another way at a later point in time. Now, so one way to think about this is basic epistemology. Like, how do we know that anything that we experience is real? Like, why are we justified in believing in things we experience? Like, why am I justified in believing in that water bottle right there? And the classic example I like to use from modern philosophy, or specifically epistemology, which is the study of how we know things, is like the sheep example. So you're walking down a road and you see a sheep, and you form the belief that there's a sheep out there in a field, okay? But on the basis of the fact of what? That you see the sheep, and that's why you feel justified in believing in the sheep. That, you base your justification, you base your belief on the sheep in the fact that you see the sheep. So it's possible that the farmer could come up to you, Farmer Bob could come up to you, and you know Farmer Bob quite well. You know him to be an honest man who knows, and a farmer who knows his fields quite well, and he tells you, at this distance, the distance, let's say it's about 100 yards between you and the sheep, he says, I've got a sheepdog that at 100 yards is indistinguishable from a sheep. At this point, you would have a defeater for your belief in the sheep. So the question is, like, the classic question in epistemology is like, are you justified in believing in the sheep in the event that the farmer didn't come up to you? Because, like, there's situations like that in life all the time. Like for example, I believe in time on the basis of my experience of it. I believe in the water bottle on the basis of my experience of it. It's possible that there could be some defeater that proves that it's an illusion, that the water bottle doesn't exist, that time doesn't exist. So like, but these are only possible. I don't have any defeater. I don't actually have a defeater for the belief in the water bottle. And so you think about the farmer example, like, it's possible that the farmer could come up to you. Are you rationally justified in believing in the sheep when the farmer doesn't come up to you? Or should you reject belief in the sheep because the farmer could possibly come up to you? I would say you should believe in the sheep on the basis you look out there, you see the sheep, you believe in the sheep. And the issue is, like, if the farmer doesn't come up to you, then it's just a logically possible defeater for your belief in the sheep. If there's maybe there is no farmer that ever would say that to you. You don't know. It's just a possibility. So when people say time isn't real, like, they don't really know it isn't real, right? They're just saying it's possible that it's not real, and that's a mistake in the way the teenagers speak a lot of times. But one way to think about this is let's think about this. Like, should I believe in the sheep just on the basis of the fact that I see the sheep in the event that the farmer doesn't come up to me? Well, Farmer Bob's wife could come up to you and tell you, oh, don't listen to Farmer Bob today because Farmer Bob is heavily medicated, because, he had to go get surgery on his so-and-so. There could be, if we can imagine a possible Farmer Bob, then we could also imagine a possible Farmer Bob's wife. In other words, if we can imagine a possible defeater that we don't have, but it's just logically possible, we can also imagine a logically possible defeater. Farmer Bob's wife is the defeater. Farmer Bob is the defeater for your belief in the sheep. You believe in the sheep, you're justified on the basis of the fact that you see the sheep. But Farmer Bob's the defeater for you, I believe. Farmer Bob's wife would be the defeater. And you can also imagine a defeater, and a defeater. And in fact, you can imagine a literal infinity of defeaters and defeaters. And for every defeater you can dream up and imagine as possible, you could imagine a defeater. So what I would say is, like, you have to give more weight to what you actually see, what you actually have, than all of these imagined possibilities. Like, yes, it's possible that the sheep's not there, but what should I believe? What carries the stronger weight of justification? The thing that I actually see has to be given more weight than this literal infinitude of defeaters and defeaters. So, like, people sometimes have a hard time seeing this in situations where they're biased towards a certain belief. Like, if somebody told me, like, a conspiracy theory, like, that he believed that cars could all cost $10 and we're all getting horribly ripped off, and they should all cost $10. And, like, he believes that, like, all the car companies are in cahoots And like, because one of them could undercut the other ones if they're ripping us off that much, and we would all, all he has to do is lower the price $1,000 on all his, and we would all go buy that company, right? So they must all be in cahoots on this. And this guy, he has no evidence that this conspiracy theory of his is true, but since it's possible, he decides he's going to believe it because you can't prove it wrong. Like it's always possible that they're doing that. It's hard for us to really know for sure that it's not happening. And the thing is, we have to give more. He has no evidence that it's true. He just says you can't disprove it. And he's just heavily biased in favor of it. And you really should believe in what you have evidence for. And all of these possibilities cancel each other out, because for every possibility, there's like an anti-possibility that goes the other direction. Like I could say, well, actually, they only make 1 penny on every car that they sell, and the profit is 1 penny, or they take a loss on every car they sell, or something like that. I could say that, right? And like, I have no evidence for that either, and so like, he would say, well, I'm not going to believe in it because you don't have any evidence for it. And all it does is illuminate the fact that, hey, buddy, you're biased. You just believe in this because you want it to be true. You're not really rationally objective in going with what you have evidence for. Like, we have to give more weight to that which we have evidence for. So we experience time. You really ought to believe in time. Now, and it's stronger than your belief in the external world because it's actually internal. It's an internal experience. We experience change in mood, change in emotions, change in memories, change in, our feelings and, sensations. But the case for the existence of time is even stronger than that. Because the thing is, if we start to imagine, well, okay, Farmer Bob could defeat the sheep, I guess, but like, what kind of defeater could someone give you for the existence of time? The thing is, we know that we don't currently have any defeaters for the existence of time. If someone gave me one, then that would be, they would have to give it to me and change my knowledge and my set of data that I'm working with. Like, so as soon as it's given to me, they're bringing an incoherence because they're changing my situation in an effort to demonstrate that nothing ever changes. So it's actually, this is what's called a logical problem. So this goes beyond our, like logical proof is even stronger than this just basic experiential evidence. Like, like certain things are logically impossible. Like, it's logically impossible for 3 plus 4 to make anything other than 7, because when you think about it, 3 and 4 added together is just another way of writing 7. So what you're saying is like, it's impossible for 7 not to be the same thing as 7. 7, or not to equal 7, at least conceptually, like, or it's impossible for the number 3 to equal the number 4. I think that one's a little easier for people to see. Like, or like it's impossible for someone to be, a classic example might be a married bachelor. It's impossible for you to be a married bachelor. Or it's impossible for there to be 4 cats outside that door and 0 cats outside that door. Another way to think about it. There are many things. It's impossible for there to be no true statements. It is true that there are no true statements. That statement contradicts itself, and so it can't possibly be true, because if it is true, then it also must not be true. The thing is, if you give someone a defeater for their experience of time, when you do that, they're experiencing time. So it would seem it's very difficult to imagine how you could introduce a defeater for the existence of time without affirming the existence of time at the same time. So anyway, it's very hard to imagine how that would be possible. So, the bottom line is the rational position to hold, and the position that you should hold if you want to be a rational person who holds true beliefs and rejects false beliefs, is that time does exist. So anyway, there's that video. Thank you so much for your time.